YouTubers, Fortune Cookie 45 LC coming to you from the Hot Lead Zone, and today we're going to answer the question, how does our 38 Wadcutter reloads loaded on a progressive Dillon 550B press, in other words they're bulk loaded reloads, how do they compare with factory Wadcutters in 38 special caliber? So you'll note that with the factory Wadcutter by Winchester Western, that the Wadcutter is seated so that the case mouth is crimped over the front edge of the Wadcutter, flush to the case mouth, and the bullet cannot move deeper into the case because there is a deep cannelure there. Now these are made by the factory to hold 1.5-inch groups at 50 yards, so that if you were competing in NRA Bullseye, this would give you the factory edge. Now our reloads, you'll notice that this is the same Winchester Western case, but it's used quite a bit so that every time it's fired, the cannelure becomes less and less here. So it's almost gone. And the powder charge is thrown by the Dillon powder measure. So how do these stack up in terms of accuracy and performance compared to factory? Can we use these in competition? Can we use these for practice? Or do we have to weigh every powder charge and load these as if we're loading our rifle ammo in order to compare with factory? So let's answer these questions. Go to the range. Got 200 rounds of our reloads there to shoot. And we have our nice accurate Colt Python back there. So we'll go ahead and test this to answer these questions. Looks like some rain is coming our way. We need all the rain we can get. But there's no rain right now. So here we go at the range with our reloaded target Wadcutters. YouTubers, this is 25 yards from a rest, 38 caliber, 148 grain Wadcutters, 2.8 grains of promo powder, and you see there, that is a 3/4 inch group with one drop shot. Not bad for reloads. And now the Winchester factory 38 Wadcutter loads.
Grab your gear. Take your target.
Okay. What we have here is a 5-shot group shot with the 38 caliber Winchester factory Wadcutters, 25 yards at rest, and that's a 1/2-inch group with 1 drop shot. Translates out to a little over an inch probably at 50 yards if I did mine and didn't drop that shot. And here you're going to have 1.5 inches or even more with the reloads. And so the edge goes to the factory. Okay, here's some double action shooting at 12.5 yards. YouTubers, here's our offhand comparison. 12 rounds into the target, shooting two-handed offhand at 12.5 yards with our reloaded Wadcutters. And we like that. Here's another group, 5 shots, shot with the reloaded Wadcutters, shooting single action with the Colt Python at 12.5 yards. And then here is the group shot with the factory Wadcutters. Now notice the 2 shots low at 6 o'clock. Those are the first 2 shots. Turns out that the factory Wadcutters have a little more oomph and they shoot a little lower, so I had to hold higher to hit the center. So if you imagine those 2 low shots being right up there in that group, that's not a bad group for factory Wadcutters. And then there's 1 shot at the head there. Then we shot this with the factory Wadcutters, and you see 5 shots in a nice little clump there, but 1 drop shot. That is a drop shot there. And then we shot 6 shots at the head, double action, and amazingly shot 3 2-shot groups, double action. Well, there's 2 wild ones there, but they're both the same 2-shot group. So altogether, the Wadcutters work real well, whether it's reloads or factory, but my assessment is the factory is a little bit more accurate than our reloads. Not much so, but just a little bit. But at 50 yards, that can make a big difference. So YouTubers, what you see here is our Colt Python back from the range after shooting about 240 rounds of Wadcutter ammunition, and no jacketed rounds were shot at the end of the session. So what you see here is the raw fouling and debris and any leading from shooting 240 Wadcutter ammo rounds. I see some leading in there. Let's see what happens when we clean it out. Can't tell with all the powder fouling whether there's any leading in the forcing cone or not. We'll go ahead and clean the gun now, and then we'll check it out. Good old ballastol we're going to use to clean the gun, and here's another can empty. So YouTubers, here's a little tip, and that is when you're taking your patch and you're putting it through your barrel, as you push that through the barrel and you get to the forcing cone, if you feel a little hesitation or a little grittiness there, a little bit of lack of smoothness, that is leading in your forcing cone. Now you notice that that patch went through and I didn't feel any kind of drag going through the forcing cone. Let's do that again. Push it through, get to the forcing cone, and it's absolutely glassy going through there. If you get that, there's no leading. If you don't get that, there's leading in the barrel. Let's look at that. Can you see in the forcing cone and the beginning of the rifling, there is no leading there. No, there isn't. And that didn't surprise me because I didn't feel any when I was doing the patch test. Now that tip doesn't work for these cylinders because there is a constriction there where the case mouth is. The case mouth has not headspace on that, but there is a constriction there to allow for the difference in diameter of the case to the bullet. And so you'll feel that, and that's not leading. The barrel doesn't have that. So let's check for leading in the cylinder throats. And if you look in there, there isn't any leading. So even though we shot 38 specials in the 357 Magnum length chamber, we got the fouling out of there okay. And the front of the cylinder is pretty clean. And this is all we use to clean the Colt Python. Ballistol, 357 Magnum brush, the patches, and the cleaning rod. YouTubers, today we shot .358 inch bullets, and that's the correct diameter for this gun. And if you do that, you get very little leading, very little fouling. Had I shot some jacketed bullets at the end of the session, there would have even been less cleaning to do, but we didn't do that. Still, it wasn't bad. So YouTubers, the conclusion today is that for most of us, we can't tell the significance of the small amount of difference between our reloaded Wadcutters and factory Wadcutters. But if you're a championship shooter in NRA Bullseye, you're going to want to use the factory because you can use that little bit of difference, especially at 50 yards, in a very tough competition. Bye for now.